And we're live. Welcome to the Star
Hello.
Wars Reporter podcast, where we talk about all things Star Wars, Disney, fandom, and more. So, our band of scoundrels will be talking about the Mandalorian Chapter 9, the Marshal. We're pretty excited to talk about this. It felt like a long time for Season 2 coming. And I think we should just get right into this. Before we do, though, I just want to introduce everyone here. So everyone knows Trooper Todd.
Hey.
Then there's Lum Runner Wayne.
Hey.
And joining us again, for the first time again, is Jason.
How you doing, everybody?
Yeah. And I am Wookiee Steve.
So, I think now that we're on video, you look like a Wookiee there with that beard. And
Yes.
If a human could look like a Wookiee, there you go.
Right. According to my wife, with this beard, I look like a jerk. But
why is it so honest, aren't they?
Maybe a little too honest. So this is we're just giving this a try with the whole live and with the video stuff, because back in the day when we were doing just the audio podcast, I thought, who actually wants to see our faces? I know my wife doesn't want to see my face, so I thought, but
we were terrified of that. We're like, no, don't show us the old men.
Steve, I always think that I said this before to you, but I think, this is a great opportunity for your female audience to have some eye candy. Right?
I already told you
we
my
brought
wife
Jason
doesn't
on.
like the way I look, so
Right. Exactly. I think we just need to zoom into Steve's beard, really.
we'll have I can do a beard cam. How's that? You know how some of these streamers will have their dog on cam?
Yeah.
It's
You can have
close.
your beard.
Yeah.
Right here.
I'm pretty sure that a dog is cleaner though, or more. People don't look at a beard and go, "Aw."
I always look at a beard and I say that's commitment. That's what I always say all the time. I look
Or
at your beard,
laziness.
well, it could be that, but you're committing to something. Like, to keep that there. Like, this is really bad for me, but this is laziness. Part of lazy.
That's what I've got. Laziness.
Yeah.
It really is.
But that's commitment. It comes to a point where that's good. Shows you're committed to something.
I know. Hey, it's face armor. It's like, one of our friends, James, is always telling me that I should shave, and that it looks like crap. And he'll sometimes grow a beard a little bit, and then he'll shave it, and he'll say, "Oh, I got rid of the beard." And I always like saying things like, "Well, some people can handle the heaviness of manhood," or something like that. So, but anyways,
how long? Just before we move on, like, since we were talking about beards, how long has it been since you last shaved?
I've had this beard for a couple years now. So I've only had it for a few years. I kind of tricked my wife into letting me grow it, because I said I was giving up shaving for Lent, and so it grew pretty good. It was like like a normal beard in like 40 some odd days, and then
48 hours.
I let it grow for another month, and then I thought, oh, I wonder if I'm done. So I shaved it, and I remember thinking, wow, I didn't realize how giant my top lip was. Like, it felt like I was like a horse. And I remember my daughters coming to me afterwards, like it was literally 15 minutes after I shaved, and they're like, we talked, and you kind of look weird. This is what they said, we want our Jedi dad back. And I was like, sold. And I haven't picked up a razor since. So, and then this only took a couple of weeks. So,
Wow.
No.
Yeah, imagine.
Took me about 4 months, maybe, to get like this, 4 or 5 months. But anyways, I don't want to talk about dirty hair that my wife hates and my kids are iffy with now. Let's get on to the Mandalorian. So, personally, I'll say that Favreau has really come through, right? Like, how do you top season 1? And I mean, personally, I really loved this premiere episode, chapter 9, the Marshal. So let's just start off by, I just want to kind of break it into different parts. Why don't we talk about the good? What did we like about the episode? What were some of your favorite parts?
Well, I could even say, just in a general sense, you're talking about, this season 2 and the anticipation, and you could see the production like right away. It was really beautifully done. It had an epic feel. I thought kind of like epic, but still sort of intimate. It just looked like the settings, everything really beautifully done, and the costumes, and there was a ton. Of course, there was a ton of nods to original Star Wars, and even from the pre. This was one thing actually. Just getting this going, I thought of this. Did you guys? Anybody notice the Marshal? His speeder. Did you notice what that was? It was a
pod racer.
Right.
Pod racer.
It was the pod racer engine, and yeah, I think specifically it looked like Anakin's.
Which was
pretty
a lot
neat.
of similarities for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
See,
I always love speeders.
See, that's why I think what I love about the whole entire series in general. I'm just saying everything. It's just how it has so much kind of, I call, like Easter eggs. Like was that Anakin's pod racer? Like even like the bartender in the show, like that species or whatever. It's the same species of the guy in Return of the Jedi who's trying to push Luke into the Sarlacc pit, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Those little things like that. Having those little species come up everywhere in the series. It just always like. Almost to the point where it's distracting. I'm so geeking out, So just that bartender alone, I just got caught up on that guy. Don't know why.
Yeah.
Just
totally.
like, because you see the race in Return of the Jedi, he didn't talk. Now he's talking, he's interacting with people. He had eyes. It's just so cool. You're bringing this universe to life. Before you've seen flashes of people, like I wasn't. Like in season 1, I remember there was like the Bosk, whatever Bosk is species. There's those characters running around, right? So it was just kind of cool seeing these things. Or the Gamorrean guards fighting, right? Like how cool is that, right? So
the Gamorrean Fight Club. I was so excited to see that.
They're a little skinny. They look a little like they work out too much compared to Jabba's guys, but
yes,
they look pretty slim and trim, except for like maybe the hip sections. But yeah, their legs and arms were pretty slim. But still, how cool was it, right? So that's one thing I find just so neat that they continue doing in the second season for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the nostalgia factor is what I thought was awesome. Just all the little nods, like you said, the Gamorreans, the bartender, the Weequay, the pod racer engine, Boba Fett's armor, R5D4.
Oh, R5D4.
I caught that too. That's right. Yep, the R5. She called that.
Stain from the motivator blowing, right?
He had a little stain there.
I was geeking out my wife. My wife, I'm like, Mom, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like the motivator blew. She's in. It was lost.
And, like the Sarlacc, the Tuskens, everything was just a nostalgia trip for me.
Absolutely.
Now, what's interesting, and you guys just talking about it now, a lot of those nods were specifically the Gamorrean guards and the bartender species, the Weequay. Is that what it is? The Weequay. Those are specifically Return of the Jedi, which is kind of interesting to where that whole episode kind of ended up. The Return of the Jedi tie-in specifically, like we were talking about right before we went on about Tatooine. We're going back to Tatooine, but then you take Tatooine. And you take all these species and the Gamorrean, and it's all tying to Return of the Jedi, which is leading to that huge reveal at the end of the episode. And Boba Fett's armor overall.
So I have to admit, though, guys, we did this off camera, but we should do it on camera too. I'm so embarrassed, but I didn't realize that was Boba Fett's armor. It's so bad. Like I picked up on everything else, but for some reason, again, I was distracted. I have to admit, I was distracted because I saw the armor when the helmet came off, and I saw it was Timothy Oliphant, and I was explaining to the guys off camera before we went live. I have something about Timothy Oliphant. I don't know why I think he's so awesome, but I think he's awesome. So when it was him, I just kind of lost my mind. I was just mesmerized by his eyes for some strange reason.
Hey, you know
But,
what?
yeah.
We all have a man crush on someone. So
Oh, yeah,
I guess mine is Timothy Oliphant. I don't know why, but like,
I don't believe you.
I think having him in there in a Western was perfect because he wasn't Deadwood, you know.
It's so funny. And before we went live too, I had pointed out as not an American, and same with Todd, we're both from the Great White North. I have to point out to any Americans listening and anyone outside of the US, if they agree with this, that his character or how he was acting there, this is how people outside of the US picture what Americans are like. You know, that tough cowboy, kind of image. I'm sure Todd will come back in a second. And I always find that really, really funny that that's what we think of when we think of Americans. Wild West.
He was, and that episode too, on that thought was as Western feeling as any of them, and I know like they tried to make the show have that feel, and that was something a lot of people talked about in the original season. And right away it was like they totally went with the even deeper with that Western kind of feel, the whole episode totally. And then our favorite guy, like you guys are saying, like kind of going off that. Completely gone. He was playing it too. I think another reason, even joking about, he's such the American. He, to me too, was totally, number one, like it looked like he was having a lot of fun with the role, and he was just almost not want to say quite hamming it up, but almost. He had almost a little smirk like the whole time. Like it's like he's really having fun with this. He's kind of playing it almost with a sense of humor in a way, like.
Yeah, again, I haven't seen him in Deadwood, but anything I've seen him in, he always has that kind of smirk where he's, you can tell he's having fun with the character, right? And so, you're exactly right there for sure. That look, he always had the smirk. Yeah. He had the smirk. The negotiation scene, he had the smirk, right? Like even though like we talked about, I'm going to kill you, I don't give up the armor, and all of a sudden, okay, now we're friends and buddies, and the smirk come up, right? It's cool.
Did you guys notice something else actually when they first, the Mandalorian and the Marshal, when they first confronted, almost came to, like an old fashioned, did you notice his character, they showed the holster?
Yeah.
And unless I missed it, like he wasn't packing anything. Like I don't think there was a gun in his holster. Maybe we could look that up, but that's how I remember it.
Oh, I mean, the Marshal didn't have. The Marshal had a gun. I thought they both had guns. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they both had guns.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to rewatch that because they panned down and just showed it, and I'm like, I might have just.
Well, I think it showed. I think it showed that you're talking about panned down the body. It showed the wide. It showed over his shoulder or behind, and then had the gun pinned down to his hand. Right, there's definitely a gun there. I saw the butt end of the gun sticking out.
Okay.
I believe. But
I was saying this before we went live too, that I liked the fact that, or I thought it was interesting how the armor looked on Cobb, Boba Fett's, because Cobb is obviously probably taller and thinner. So it was almost like a Boba Fett belly shirt that he was wearing because it was so high.
You could instantly tell it's like, oh, Boba Fett's armor, but that's not Boba Fett,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
The way he held himself and the way the armor fit him, you're like, that's not Boba Fett in that armor.
That's right, because we all knew it was Boba Fett's armor.
Right.
Yeah, except for I feel so. I can't tell you how embarrassed I am that I didn't pick up on that.
I wasn't certain right away. Because of he looked so different. He didn't look like Boba Fett, and so I wasn't sure right away. And then just some of the details, like the scanner thing in the back of the helmet and the color and all that. But it took a little bit.
The jetpack looks exactly like it, and I don't know why I didn't pick up on that.
It's cool we got to see him fire that rocket too a couple times.
I know, right?
His backpack this time.
So one thing when I first remember that the big worm, the sandworm that came out, I'm calling it a sandworm. I don't know what they called it in the show, but
it's the crate dragon.
Okay, thank you. When that came at first, when I first glanced, I thought it was the same kind of creature that was inside the meteor that had the Millennium Falcon inside the Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
I won't lie, I was a little disappointed it wasn't the same. I thought it was. I thought, oh, it's the same kind of creature because the teeth kind of looked like it at first. So I thought it was the same type of creature that was inside the meteor. So I was a little disappointed that it wasn't the same creature. But
The space worm.
Because you always, you remember the crate skeleton and the Dune Sea at in the episode.
Oh yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
It wasn't that big though. I mean,
maybe that's a baby. We saw the skeleton. We saw was a baby.
Yeah.
I find it interesting. Do you guys remember? Like I'm skipping way ahead, but when they end up battling the crate and destroy it, and so the sand people are all cutting away at it, it kind of reminded me of that Ralph McQuarrie picture, the concept art. It kind of reminded me of that one picture of the sand people, the Tusken, that he came up with in the desert. It almost seemed like there was that skeleton in the background in some of the concept art. But you remember at the end where the one Tusken holds up that big round
pearl.
The
pearl or
yeah,
was it a pearl or an egg? I was looking at
it, and it's used as, it's very valuable because it's a power source. It could be used as a power source. So like I guess in the EU that doesn't exist anymore. I guess I was watching a video and it was talking about it where Jedi would try to find like smaller ones and put it into their lightsabers, and it was hard to make work. But I think who was it? Was it Revan or
Darth Crate?
Yes.
It was he was the one, Darth Revan or something. He was the one that got it to work in his lightsaber, and it's supposed to be like really, really strong. So I don't think anything will come of that. I think it was a nice nod that, you know, the Tuskens found that kind of pearl in
they could end up doing something with that. Who knows? You know, because you'd have to think that's how many crate dragons does anybody ever manage to kill? You know, that's got to be a big deal, actually.
I really loved the kind of the continuation of kind of the Mandalorian's relationship with the Tuskens, right? Like in the first season, you seen him just doing the kind of this sign language, but in this, he's actually mimicking the sound, and they went kind of further into it. And I know some people online were saying, "Oh, all of a sudden he knows the language. Why didn't he talk like that the first time?" And you know, maybe they just kind of thought of it, or you know, maybe you know, to kind of add to it all. But I really love the interaction, and I know some of the complaints of people is that the Tuskens are these like really dangerous, beastly people that are very dangerous, and yet they're just kind of like nice and, you know, easy to make nice. And I think I had said this to you, Wayne. I was like, I wonder what the relationship between the Mandalorian and the Sand People, how did that happen? Is it just him and his thing that he was able to do, or is there a relationship or some kind of understanding between the Mandalorians and the Tuskens?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what is it? So
yeah, what's the connection? I mean, I like the that they made the Tuskens more 3D. You know, they got more dimension to them than just generic bad guys. You know, going back to the Western, you know, these are the Native Americans, and they're not always the raiders and stuff. They have their own lives. They just do things because people do them to them, or they need something.
Necessity. They're doing it out of necessity. That's how they survive, right? Like,
right.
The climate they live in is quite, you know, dangerous and harsh. So,
right.
No, that's a great point. Actually, they're a tribe of like native people that constantly getting messed with, and actually too, if you think even Attack of the Clones, well, we saw Anakin like annihilate them, but before Anakin annihilated them, you actually there was a little hint of, oh, okay, you know, there's women and they have a little society going, that they're not just completely savage. So that's actually another nice tie-in. Yeah. Mandalorian really does a good job of like you guys are saying, even of course, Star Wars is the ultimate Easter eggs and nods to everything. But The Mandalorian, really, this one episode, you could almost find something from almost every Star Wars movie that it tied into.
Right.
But again, that's what comes with, you have creators who love Star Wars are trying to make it true and just really soak up all that positive energy from the films, the franchises, working to this TV show that, where all the fanboys are going, wow, right? Like they're really telling a good story. It's something that's different. It's not rehashing something, but at the same time, not forgetting where it's come from. And they're tying it in so perfectly, really. Like,
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. It's Star Wars. Just I don't know. It's for me personally too. I've always thought some franchises, people say, "All right, you're going a little overboard with the nods and this and that." And I don't know, Star Wars. I'm like, it's almost hard to do that too much. Like, I don't know. It's just I'm always like, oh wow. Like, I guess because it's so nostalgic to me, so many people, but it just seems to work.
I think it's
when they bring an Ewok in this season, Steve's just gonna lose it.
My head,
Yes,
my head
favorite.
is literally gonna pop off. My head is gonna pop off. They need to. I made so many memes of like. I think I started. It was like, "Hey, J.J. Abrams, please bring Ewoks into Episode 9," and I did the same thing. I had this meme where it's like, "Do you guys remember that Just Say Anything movie?" So Cusack at the end to get the girl, not the end, but during he's got the radio over his head.
Oh yeah,
playing it,
yep.
Metal Blaster, trench coat,
in the trench coat. So I put an Ewok head on him. I'm like, Favreau and Filoni, can you please bring Ewoks into the Mandalorian? And the next frame is the two of them in the window. I poorly photoshopped them in the window of this house. So, and I even put Say Anything Star Wars or something like this. And I bet you 99% of the people are like, what is this? They have no idea. It's this dumb 80s movie. And I'm giggling. I'm like, this is so cool. I know. I'm giggling going, this is so cool. Everyone's going to love this. And it's like, no, there's few people I'm like, that liked it. I'm like, oh, but I can see that they're old people like me. So it's like, yeah. I guess nowadays they could make Say Anything because a guy standing outside with a ghetto blaster in a house would get arrested. But
right.
For harassing,
it's not the same kind of feeling when they have a phone like this. It
there's the modern version.
Exactly right.
But with Star Wars, what's always really good about Star Wars is just the kind of the subtlety or the lived in feel that the universe had, like where they've talked these sci-fi movies in the past, this kind of thing, it's always been clean and crisp and everything's so perfect. And Lucas from day one has made this, as they've said, I've seen different interviews, it was lived in, right? There was just, everything was just in passing because it wasn't like, here, I'm going to focus the camera on this for 10 minutes so you can see how cool this is. And just like, I made a note. I just noticed that when the Mandalorian gets to Tatooine, he runs into that mechanic lady again. When she sees Baby Yoda, I thought it was really interesting what she said. She goes, "Thank the Force."
Yeah, I caught that too.
It just kind of puts into where I think Abrams tried to do a little bit in Episode 7, where they had those people that were Force followers. They weren't Jedis; they were just Force followers. So the Force is like a religion again. It's not, where it became metachlorians and now it's back to this mystical. It felt like kind of religious, right? She was like, thank the Lord or thank God. It was thank the Force. I thought was really, really, it was one of those small things that make, people don't notice, but it's like, oh, that's a lived in universe thing.
That's another good point. And I caught it and I was like, oh, that was cool. But the way you're describing it has me even thinking now, it's interesting that she was thanking the Force. She wasn't thanking the Jedi. She wasn't thanking the rebellion or anything. Thank the Force, which is cool because it puts it above all of that, all the people that use it and everything. And no, thank the Force.
Mm-hmm. So, and I really liked when the Mandalorian went into that small town. What is it, Mos Pelgo or Plago or something? And that scene was kind of like the stranger on the horse just walking in, except he was on, Wayne's swoop bike, and it was going really slow to give everyone, everyone's, just like in those Western movies where they're looking at the stranger and looking suspicious. And I kind of liked where he was just driving really slow, and that sound of the engine, like, really slow and looking, and it's no surprise to anyone. It's completely a Western movie. It's so
totally this episode. Yeah.
See, that's what's so funny. Where I might have mentioned this before on our podcast before, but I can't stand Westerns because every Western movie has the token shot of the riding the horses through the desert. I can't stand it. But for some reason, I really like them on speeder bikes. I don't know why, but it just seemed to make sense on speeder bikes. But it's one thing I can't stand about Westerns is the whole riding horses. Like, I'm talking about not through the town. I'm talking about just the random shots of the little sequence of riding through the desert, and I can't stand it. But love it on speeder bikes. Especially, you guys notice when they kind of race each other? You guys notice that when they went out and they're coming back to the town, they're kind of like, my wife picked up and I was like, one was like going fast, and one caught up, and they kind of both went like they were trying to, who's better sort of thing. That's what I thought. It looked like they're measuring, penis sizes or something. I don't know.
The Marshal there on Anakin's.
That's I like the nod to the Death Star 2 being blown up too.
Yeah,
there's a big party for a short while before this mining collective came in and took over the town. So
didn't take long either, did it?
I know.
Right away. It's like the instant the thing went up.
Oh, great! No, it's right away.
Yeah, it's like they had 10 seconds to celebrate, and then
they didn't finish their beer, right? They didn't finish their beer, and it's like, oh no, these guys are bad too.
Who'd I say this to? You know what part gave me when the Krayt Dragon first showed up and was going through the town, and then came up and ate the bantha. It totally gave me a Dune feel. The
sandworm. Yeah.
I was like, that's a sandworm, man.
No, to me, it's Tremors. Kevin Bacon movie.
Tremors. Yes.
That's what,
there you
go. It's Tremors, because when Tremors went through, everything would shake too, and that's what it did. So I thought it was. I haven't seen Dune. I'm sorry, but I've seen Tremors many, many times. One of my favorite movies from the 80s. Just how it was going through the town. To me, it reminded me so much of Tremors. And I just watched it recently too, and that's why even the shots are very similar. So I would say they're parodying Tremors more than Dune, but I could be wrong.
But there was also the part where it gave me a Starship Troopers vibe, was when the Krayt Dragon was spitting
acid blood.
Acid.
Oh yeah.
And
I forgot that they did that.
Was getting a bunch of them, and then how in Starship Troopers, Johnny Rico gets on top of this big bug that just burns someone with acid and killed a bunch of people, makes a hole in it, throws a bomb in it, and it explodes as he's jumping off. And then the next scene, when he stands up and he's got some bug guts all over him and stuff. And here, Mando comes out, explodes. He's got bug guts on him, or Krayt Dragon guts on him. It just, it wasn't probably what it was, but it just gave me that Starship Trooper vibe.
See, to me, it reminded that part reminded me more of Men in Black.
That too, right?
It was that swallow, and boom, came up, and he had all the guts on him. So that's where, again, but it could be everything combined too, right? But yeah, I thought more of Men in Black when I saw it.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's funny. All of them for sure. Yeah, I thought Dune. I'm like a Dune. Well, I've been into Dune. I'm not going to say I'm a Dune lunatic, but I like Dune, so I can't help but think of the sandworms. But everything you guys are saying, Tremors for sure. Tremors as much as anything for sure, even when it's going through the town.
Because Tremors is a small western town. Is like same kind of village. Even when it's going through, and the planks are in Tremors, the planks would move up as it went through. Same thing. I had the shots of the building. It was doing the exact same thing. So that's why I thought of that. Yeah. Again, I didn't see Doom, so I have nothing to reference it to.
So, I found this recently that I thought that I lost, but how much I love the planet Tatooine. I got this. This was '93, and it's the technical journal for the planet of Tatooine. It's one of these little magazines where it has technical pictures, and there's
sweet.
like pull-out posters, and there's like the skiff and droids, and
That's cool.
and it's like they have the one thing I used to read all. See, so you have the
Sandcrawler.
Sandcrawler. I would like that, and it talks about the Jawa. But and speak of the devil, Great Dragon.
Yeah.
So
Those
it
things are
didn't
so
really
cool.
look that way, did it?
No, that's
No,
like
a longer
Great Dragon.
So they look different. But there was a page in here I used to read all. I used to think it was so cool, but it was kind of like it was a map of Mos Eisley. So it was labeled. Everything was, and it's just these kinds of things I would always pick up. Tatooine. Anyways.
You'd learn a lot, the technical manuals and all that stuff, and then even the role-playing books, and it always really cool to thumb through it. You learn so much about all the vehicles and the critters, everybody.
Yeah,
that was cool too. The Sandcrawler rescued the Marshal. He was rescued by Jawas. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, see, that was another one of my favorite parts is Jawas.
Yeah,
Jawas.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very cool. How big it was! It just rolled up, and he's this little speck down below. It's very cool.
I love the Sandcrawler. I'm with you too, Wayne. Like Jawas. Every time Jawas are on the screen, it's hard not to be excited, just because they're neat little creatures, and just the whole negotiation scene too when he's inside there, and they're trying to sell him on something, right? And then I just thought it was so good. And of course, he points out the armor and gets it, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I guess that's one of the draws. There you go, Tatooine. I mean, everything. There's so much for such like a sparse environment and place. There's so much stuff, but there's so much mystery to it. I guess too. The Jawas, the Sand People. We never really learned that much about any of it, but it was always compelling.
And I love the scene where they send the one Jawa, not Jawa. So they send out the one sand person, Tusken Raider, with the banta to lure out the giant worm. It was one guy like, I lost the bet. Here I go. Right?
He was so fumbly. He wasn't cool at all.
No, my wife was saying too. My wife said, "So funny." My wife goes, "It's not going to eat the banta, is it?" No, it's not going to eat the banta. It's going to get the Sandman for sure.
Yep, it was funny. Went right by the banta. That dude scrambling. He's tripping on his legs. It's just poor thing. Poor guy couldn't make it.
They probably said, our outfits aren't probably designed well for running in the sand. I'm guessing he probably thought at that moment.
I love the banthas. I really, really love them. They're such a cool creature. So
were those effects done for the banthas, or did they actually dress the elephants up like they did in the original movie? Like I was wondering that the whole entire time. What's that, sorry?
Those are real banthas this time.
Oh wow! Yeah, I thought so.
They gene spliced in some lab just for the show.
This was filmed on location. You guys know that.
Tatooine, right?
Well, yeah.
Like, look at that worm. It looked great.
Todd, I remember when living on Paris Drive.
Yes.
I
lived in Ottawa. You were in Paris.
They were connecting streets, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It was so funny where you're like, oh, it was filmed on location. I remember being outside in the winter and looking up. I don't know who I was with. And I don't think it was you, but looking up, it was just kids. And we probably saw a plane really far up, but it looked like a light. And I was like, oh, no, UFO or something. And someone I was with said, no, that's where they filmed Battlestar Galactica. And I completely believe that. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool.
You know what? It could have been me and you were big Battlestar Galactica fans when it came out too. So I remember you had a Cylon, a toy Cylon.
Yeah, the Cylon.
And I used to go nuts over Cylons. And I remember I was like, so it could have been me and you, because me and you talked lots, and we had our backyard looked like Hoth, didn't it? Our backyard looked like Hoth in the winter.
Where we lived for 8 months of the year was Hoth.
It was Hoth, like literally. Like you could play, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back in the backyard, no problem. We're just missing AT-ATs and stuff like that.
I know. So yeah, it's I really loved I'm finding that I didn't realize how much I love the Tatooine, the planet and the atmosphere there. So it's too bad it's kind of like Mos Eisley and stuff. It seems kind of like almost like a ghost town now. It's too bad it wasn't like filled with scum and villainy like it used to, but
Things change, I guess.
Yep. The scum and villainy moved to another town.
But we were talking about we talked about a lot of things we liked, but do you want to talk about things that maybe we didn't care for?
yeah.
Bad.
Because one thing, we talk about cool going back to Tatooine, but at the same time going, they went back to Tatooine again? Like,
Yeah.
it's a freaking big galaxy, isn't it? There's more than 3 planets, isn't there?
Dude, there's 4 planets. Oh wait, no, Alderaan was dead. So yeah, there is 3.
Sorry, 3 planets.
3 planets, 3 movies, 3 planets in the original.
So that's if there's one flaw, again, as much as I love it and going back and it makes sense setting up the armor, blah blah blah, but at the same time, pick a different planet.
You know what though? It's like the whole decision to go back there, they could have been like, we really want to show that last shot, the last shot with him standing there, and it just makes sense that he'd be on Tatooine. It could have been, and then they went from there and just all the cool stuff. But it might have just been because they just wanted to show you old Fett there on Tatooine.
Oh my goodness me, guys! Oh my good, that's why he looks so familiar.
No,
yeah, and that was. And that was.
When Anna going, I know the actor. I know the actor.
That was him. That was him.
Because he played. Oh my goodness me!
There he is. That scene. There
okay, you know what? I should just leave. I should not be on this part of the show at all. My wife was sitting next to me. So I'm gonna say she was a distraction because she's so beautiful. So can I say that?
No, she's never gonna watch.
It's
it's for the viewers. I'm just letting them know I was distracted by my wife's beauty. That's why I couldn't.
Okay, so tell your wife to tune into the 37 mark in this, because she doesn't have to watch the rest of it.
Oh man, this is terrible. That's terrible. Well, it makes more sense because how could Boba Fett really die like that? That's just terrible, but that's kind of cool. Now you just open the door.
I know. It's a huge reveal. I saw it, and again, I had to, just like the armor though, it did have to register. I'm like, wow, is that? Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, there's Temu Morrison. That's him. That was like clearly him, and I'm like, that's got to be. It's got to be him.
I was just about to ask you guys, who's that guy watching over? And then the image of his face dawned on me who he was, and it was like, wow, what a reveal. So that makes it much more exciting now.
Well, he looks way different with his helmet off.
I didn't know
he was, no hair and everything. Probably from the acid damage from the Sarlacc.
Oh, that was so
this
good.
brings up the other bad point that we've heard from some of our friends is, why do they got to keep going back to Boba Fett?
Haha, I know what you're talking about. Yes, it's true. It's I guess he went on a rant too. Our friend went on a rant about he was a pointless character and he just looks cool.
Yeah, but Boba Fett he didn't get justice in the original trilogy. So it was great bringing him back. Why not?
So here's my thing is, if they could bring Darth Maul back from getting cut in half, they could bring Boba Fett back from getting swallowed whole by a big monster with a rocket pack on.
And he's got armor, right? And the armor deflects blasters, right? So why couldn't it withstand a couple teeth marks?
See, isn't that what happened with Boba Fett when he went in there? He just went crazy, shooting and slashing and fighting off the Sarlacc. And then when the skiff exploded, it ended up killing the Sarlacc. And then something like that video I sent you, Wayne, about the Dengar ended up finding Boba Fett like naked in the desert, and then took him back to Jabba's palace and kind of nursed him back to health. But the armor was gone. So
I would love to see Dengar again. How cool would that be?
That would be very cool. I was just saying that.
I guess
so. They have to. but we'll point them out to you. We'll be like, "That's Dengar," just so you know,
We
Todd.
need to
so you
do
don't
like a group watch just so we can point this stuff out to Todd.
Well,
We have
hey.
to do a group watch.
Well, I'm sure if he's wearing bandages around his head, I'll figure out who it is. But since we're talking about Boba Fett, I want to show you. Since we're talking about Boba Fett, Steve, I know you're a buddy of mine. We've been talking lots on Facebook. How I've been getting my man cave
Yes.
kind of set up here in my office, right? So I'm putting all my old toys. Well, like I had some old toys hidden away that my friends bought me for a while ago because my wife bought me some stuff. So I pulled this out. I totally forgot I had this. It's Star Wars 300th action figure ever created. It was Boba Fett.
Yeah.
You guys see that? So it's 300th.
Oh, that's cool.
300th character ever made. So I found that in the closet last night, and I made a little shrine for him up here on the wall. And so this is kind of neat that we're talking about Boba Fett, and there he is. I guess it was meant to be because. Oh, look at that! Nice.
That's from that the Infinity Disney and
that looks like it. Yeah. That's cool.
Characters. So I'm glad I got this before they discontinued it all.
Yeah, I got the whole series of those, and you can see my Boba Fett helmet on my shelf there. Those are
you got the radar thing or whatever. Yep.
Those are actual it was the helmet company that the ones that make motorcycle helmets. It made a line of Star Wars helmets that were miniaturized.
Oh, that's cool.
And they're like,
that is
perfect.
Cool.
Like you look inside of them, and that's what it would look.
Oh no, Wayne!
Yeah,
come back to us, Wayne.
I'm back.
There he is.
Oh,
you're back.
I don't know if it's me or it's you guys. You guys probably didn't disappear.
No, we didn't disappear.
We were all confused, looking like
this transmission's being monitored by the Mandalorian.
I always look to.
I thought you were an R2 kind of message that skipped.
Uh-oh.
Do you know what other people I've seen online? Not a lot, but some people weren't really impressed. Maybe like we were about the character of Cobb.
I love Cobb.
Especially
Cobb Vanth was one of my favorites in a whole episode.
Yeah. Let's and because I made a comment on the Facebook page about who else wants a Cobb Vanth miniseries or more episodes in The Mandalorian, and it's about 50-50 split so far in comments of that'd be cool too. You're stupid, don't know what you're talking about because he sucks, and like the internet is. So very cool character, very American. I mean. Very
space western.
Very western.
It's Timothy Oliphant, so I'm giving a check up there.
Yeah, put that back up so I can see the armor again.
Yeah, good point. I got lost in his eyes for some strange reason.
Who isn't?
Hey, pull him back up again. I want to see the armor again. Let's take a look at it, sort of thing.
So, is there enough depth in the Cobb character? Like, I'm not saying, like, not everyone should be getting a series on Disney Plus, but I mean, I thought Cobb had a lot of depth to him for the short time for one episode.
You know what I found interesting about him that we didn't get in the first season was he actually had a whole backstory.
Yeah, that's right.
I thought he ain't gonna die. Yeah. They gave him a backstory.
Well, my guess is they're introducing him. He's going to appear again, like all the other characters have. I'm sure he'll come up again in the series.
Yeah,
I would hope so. Anyway,
that'd be very cool, right?
Well, if we're anybody disappointed with Tatooine, which I understand that we're just keep going back there. They almost think of everything that went on in this episode. Like they're definitely tying themselves still to Tatooine between him and Boba Fett, and there's a lot of stuff there. The Tusken Raiders with their pearl from the crate dragon. They may not need to do anything with that, but they definitely Tatooine again. But man, there was a lot of stuff in this episode. A lot of pretty impactful stuff.
But really, the only reason why they went back was to introduce the Boba Fett character, really, because it's like last we seen, he was on Tatooine. So, of course, he hadn't moved in 5 years, apparently, because that's kind of when this all takes place, right? Or 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So, it was just kind of a plot device, I guess. Tatooine. It had a good story, them fighting the Krayt Dragon, etc. But it was a way to say, look, Boba Fett's still alive. He's going to be now involved somehow. So,
Well, if you look at the Star Wars film saga, like every single trilogy, Tatooine's involved in every single one of them. Right? Like, Star Wars starts in Tatooine, it ends on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Right. So, the episodes 1 to 3, they went to Tatooine. That's where Anakin's from. That's where Luke's from.
Right.
They went back for Return of the Jedi, and then, of course, Rise of Skywalker. They were there again, right? So
it is the core planet.
Yeah, there's one planet to go to. I'd rather go to Tatooine than Naboo.
I had a question about, and maybe Wayne would know about this. I remember back in the day playing the West End games, the Star Wars role-playing game. And there was some source book or something. And I remember reading through it. And they would sometimes have stories, like little short stories in different places. And it was a story of this guy who was out traveling in his land speeder or whatever in the desert on Tatooine, and he's out a little late or something, and he breaks down and he's trying to get back, but it's night, so he hides in this cave because sand people are everywhere and it's crazy to be out. And then he hears this sound kind of like off, like outside the cave, but it's like down off this cliff. And he hears the most beautiful music, like singing. And he's like, what is this? So he kind of sneaks over and he looks over this cliff. And just down below is a whole bunch of Tusken Raiders. But one of the Tuskens has taken off their armor. And it's this beautiful woman singing. And that's what they looked like. But I know that since then, they don't look that way. Like, it's been exposed. They're kind of like spiny, kind of different looking creatures. Do you remember any of that?
I don't remember which book it would have been in, but I got the whole shelf sitting here, so I'll have to look for it now.
Yeah, I just thought it was really interesting. And I remember telling my friends after I found it, I know it was in one of these books. And it kind of, so the story is the guy kind of crawls back to the cave and puts out his fire and hunkers down. And then the next day figures out, his land speeder situation, and then goes back home, and, no one ever believed him. So I thought it was a really interesting story. So I think there's always been that attempt to kind of to 3D, different alien species like the Tusken Raiders or whoever.
Back in those days, they gave us a lot of free reign to fill in blanks and stuff. The only thing that we weren't allowed to touch was Jedi and the Force. So other than that, a lot of that stuff was just made up by people like, us.
Right.
That's cool.
Going, this would be cool. And they had one person at Lucasfilm going, yep, that sounds good to me, or nope, that won't fly. I think I had a scene where Wookiee was smoking, and they're like, nope, Wookiees don't smoke.
What was he smoking, though?
Yeah, a cigar.
That's funny.
A death stick. Aren't they called death sticks?
Death sticks.
No, this is prequels, yeah.
Prequels. That's so funny. So, I felt it really moved fast. I thought, wow, they got ready, like not too fast. They just weren't wasting time, right? Like Tatooine, Boba Fett, like let's get on with this. So it's going to be interesting to see now, where he goes from here. So is he going to leave Tatooine right away? Boba Fett's going to, it's interesting if we'll see Boba Fett the very next episode or not, right?
Yeah, I might. I'm going to bet it's going to be an episode or two down the line. I think he's going to probably leave Tatooine,
right?
Search out Jedi wherever he can. And
is Slave One going to be around? Is his ship? Is he going to still have that thing? Do you think?
Well, if he had Slave 1, why would he still be on Tatooine?
Why is he still wandering the desert?
Yeah, that's true. He's just
Maybe-
hanging out. He's
Maybe
doing
he's,
like
maybe he's still recovering. Like maybe I mean he's really, I the way they did him, like with the shaved head, and obviously he's older and kind of. I was trying to see if he was a little scarred up, and in the Sarlacc, maybe he was hurt like
he
really
was.
bad.
He had some.
Yeah, I
scarring in
thought
his
so.
face.
But
So-
that's really interesting to think about too. Like his motivations now, like to get his armor back. So is he going to be chasing after the Mandalorian? That would be interesting.
Yeah.
He's
Why
got
would
a
he
kind
get-
of a David Carradine thing going with the kung fu. He's
Why
got
would he
that
wait?
vibe.
Why would he wait so long to get his armor back? You'd think picking off the Marshal would be easier than the Mandalorian, right? Like, and he would, if anybody would know, Boba Fett would probably know that, right? So maybe he's lost interest in being a bounty hunter after losing so humiliating against Luke. How that happened? Maybe he's decided to give up the game. Who knows, right? Like,
Right.
that
That's a
makes
good
more sense.
point too.
That makes more sense than waiting for him to take the armor from the Mandalorian, because that doesn't make sense to me.
But I mean, it was
Yeah,
on a
no, that's a
sandcrawler
good
too,
point
right?
actually. Like,
It was on a sandcrawler, so it's like, who knew, right? But yeah, maybe
yeah,
he's kinda
maybe
done
he
with
might
it.
have lost it too until then. But then, where did he come from then at that moment to see it? So,
The
so who
Marshal had it
knows?
for a long time, though. Marshal had it for a long, long time. Did he
Yeah.
not? So
Yeah.
I was assuming, yeah, that it wasn't long after the second Death Star blowing up. So it had to have been almost that 5 years or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, so I would say it's at least. I would say let's give it 4 years he had it for, and then Boba Fett just tracked it down then. But maybe
Yeah.
all the commotion of blowing up the worm grabbed his attention. He went to go see look, there's my armor flying away. Big coincidence, but
Maybe, yeah, that's a good point though. Like, what's been going on with him for all that time, and yeah, no, it's interesting actually. One other thing I actually noticed too, of course, they showed the child a lot, but it was interesting with all that stuff going on. I didn't really catch like the child. I don't think did anything, right? He just was an observer the entire episode.
Very not in the episode. Yeah,
I was
just a
almost
couple.
expecting him to react with, to do a little something, and he never did, which it didn't bother me, but I just kind of noticed that there was a lot of opportunity for him to
do something.
do something. Yeah,
Do something.
the hands thing, and he did. He never did.
I think they're being aware. Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. That they don't want the series to turn into okay, what's Baby Yoda doing now?
Yeah,
because they still have to tell a story. They're still trying to do something. It just so happened that Baby Yoda was this kind of breakout, made everyone go crazy, but they're still trying to tell a story. So I thought it was really interesting that basically he just popped in to be cute for a second, and then that was the end of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They didn't have him do anything that I recall. I'll probably watch the episode again.
So the
That's
next episode,
interesting,
we really have to try to do like a group watch, or I'm not fully sure. Like I know how it works, but I'm not sure if we can be interactive with each other. But other than this, right? Like I know that we can pause. Like I could, pause it if I have to use the washroom. It says, and it pauses for everyone. So, but it'd be a really interesting way to watch it and then respond to it.
That'd be fun.
So, yeah.
It'd be so hard because I try when I get into it, I try watching and it's so easy in dialogue, right? And I'm already having a hard time with the series because I'm too busy freaking out about seeing things like, oh my goodness, they put that there. And I find that bothers me because I miss a little plot point or I miss a little dialogue and I just get, so yeah. But it would be very interesting to watch other people's reactions and learn that's Boba Fett's armor a lot earlier than what I did.
Well, it could even be. We could even do it like.
It all makes sense now. It all makes sense now.
I could have saved myself.
Especially that weird guy at the end, just looking at the suns.
Yeah, like who's that guy?
Some clone.
Well, technically, it's not far from the truth.
Yeah.
He is a clone.
A special clone.
All right, guys. Well, you know what? I think we're gonna end it there. I think We have some excitement for next episode, and just not be distracted by our wives, and we can
She's so
see everything
beautiful,
going.
Steve.
No comment. No
54
comment.
minutes. 54-minute mark. Okay, make sure I mark that down.
50, write that down. So, thanks everyone who tuned in or didn't tune in or are going to watch this later. Be sure to check us out at StarWarsReporter.com. You could check us out also on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram. And again, I'll say there's no booty pictures on Instagram. Not yet. But thanks for tuning in. And thanks, guys, for wasting your time on election night.
Oh, absolutely.
I wouldn't say it's wasting my time, but
All right, guys. Thanks.